Hello, my name is Kendall Grady, and welcome to Kendall's Corner, Volume 2, where I'm discussing more complex and detailed elements of upper string technique and playing. Today, I want to talk to you about color. So, oftentimes we'll have teachers or other even musicians say, "Oh, you need to play with more color. We want to hear more color, more style, even." But they're not entirely the same word, of course. But we often don't know how to do that. And here I want to give you some ways in which you could. So right now I'm working on this piece called the Violin Concerto Sky by Michael Tork. And one of the ways I might explore color is by adding different fingerings going up a same string. So this piece is, as I've described in a previous video, based off of Appalachian folk music, which has a lot of Irish reels and things like that in it. And one might play many things in the first position using a lot of open strings, and that's one kind of color, like so. But here's another kind of color where I've gone into some different positions, and you'll hear it. So it might have a different color going up the A string rather than staying in the first position. Another thing I do want to talk about is, of course, vibrato. So there's different types of vibrato, which I've described in a previous video. And one of the vibrato approaches I might have in this piece is very little vibrato at the beginning in a first position type style to get that bright, very coppery, metallic sound that we have a lot of Irish reels in. And so the vibrato itself would be quite small, narrow, not much to it. And I'm also not doing it in a very continuous manner, or very continuous vibrato. There's a section where I play with the cellos later on, and it's the same type of melody, and I might play that in a higher position, like in third position, with a little more continuous vibrato and wider vibrato, like so. It's a very different feel and a very different style. And there's a section later on where this kind of melody repeats at the end, where it's a lot slower, and it's almost quite sad. So there's ways that you can create those emotions within the piece by just using color. I want to describe two kinds of color that we often talk about, which is a dark color and a light color. And that's a combination of a few things. It's a combination of the speed of your bow and the weight of it, and the contact, whether your contact point is here, but also the contact about how much hair that you have. So for a very dark sound, I'll use a slow bow. It's going to be heavy, and it might be closer to the bridge, and maybe even some side hair. But if I want a quite light, vibrant sound, something maybe akin to Mozart or Bach, I might play with a faster bow, lighter pressure, maybe closer to the middle or even toward the fingerboard, and maybe more full hair. And you can hear that quite well if I try two different styles, this dark color, this light color in this piece. So here's a quite light color. Here's a darker color. You can explore this in your own playing, and I hope that giving these ideas to you can be very helpful. And one of the final things that I want to talk about, which will come up in a later video, is whether or not your fingertips are flat or on their tips. So a way of getting a softer sound, having less articulation in your left hand, you might have less up and down motion here, as I've described in a previous video, correlation and coordination. And I might be playing more on the pads of my fingers to get a softer sound. But there's a section later on in the piece where we get a lot quicker and it's much more jig-like, and I want a little more articulation, so I'm going to have a more up and down motion, and I'm going to play more on the tips of my fingers. You get the idea. By choosing your fingering, choosing your bowing, your vibrato, the way that you're going to combine speed, weight, contact point, amount of hair, can all contribute to your color. And I think exploring dark and light at first is a very easy way to do it. You'll find that there's more light playing in the classical Baroque style, and once we get to the Romantic, there's more dark playing. And then you can start to explore nuances within that. So until next time, keep your hearts light and your chops up. Bye-bye for now.